You were my hero.
I never asked to be your hero.
Hey, good brothers, good sisters. Welcome to another Real Talk. I'm going to try to block the wind from hitting this microphone as much as possible today. Usually I like to do these on less windy days, but sometimes things just work out for the best. And I guess in a sense I'm talking about the winds of change today, so I guess it's a little appropriate that the wind is blowing around. I watched an episode of BraveStarr not too long ago while I was making that Rio Blast video. And it was called Fallen Idol, and it was all about BraveStarr's hero, the guy who taught him everything he knows, and that heroes fall from grace. And one line that really stuck with me since watching that video, that episode again, was at the very end when he's being arrested and taken away, and BraveStarr is pleading with him, saying, "You were my hero." That was special, that meant something. And the hero, Jingles Morgan's response was, "I never asked to be your hero." And it's really stuck with me because over my life I've had a couple of heroes who had the exact same attitude. It's a very powerful episode, and anyone out there with young kids, I highly recommend that you check out that episode. It's free on YouTube. It's on the official BraveStarr channel. It's called Fallen Idol. I'll link it in the description there. It's a powerful one, a very important one to watch and remember. I remember seeing it when I was a kid, and it's something I've always thought about. Maybe it's helped me cope with some of those heroes who have fallen from grace. Because as sad as that episode is, as heartbreaking as it is to watch your hero fall from grace and just be completely oblivious to the effect that it's having on people around him, it's an important lesson, and it's important to remember that in order to move on, to let go, to remember. That's one of the important parts of that episode, to remember the good things, and don't just dwell on the horribleness, the awfulness. So I've been kind of mulling over talking about this topic for a while, and then I watched a new movie, fairly new, called Honey Boy, which was written by Shia LaBeouf, and it's all about his childhood, what it was like to grow up making even Stevens, and his father, as portrayed in the movie, not necessarily the best hero either. It's a tough movie to watch, a little depressing at times, but I think all in all the final message is important. It's that Shia loves his father and understands him, empathizes. You don't necessarily have to condone a lot of inappropriate actions, but it's good for your own healing and peace of mind in order to empathize so that you can move on, let go of that rage, that anger, that animosity that controls so many people. So after seeing that movie and thinking about the BraveStarr episode, I thought, yeah, I could cut a little video, talk a couple minutes about the importance of being a hero. There's a lot of people who have fame, notoriety, attention thrust upon them, and then they just keep on behaving the way they behaved before. And the attitude seems to be with a lot of them, well, that's what got me to the dance, so I ain't changing anything. I gotta be true, I gotta be real. That doesn't work in certain situations when you get a really big following of very, very innocent, uneducated, inexperienced people, especially children. I think back to wrestling. Wrestling can teach you a lot about life, and how certain wrestlers seem to lose their edge when they got too big. I think of the Ultimate Warrior. He's a big one who was just this snarling Neanderthal rage beast, and then when he got to the very pinnacle of his business, he started smiling and hugging kids, and as a fan, I mean, you see Hulk Hogan do that, you see Macho Man Randy Savage, all these guys, they lose their intense edge that got them to where they were going. And it's disappointing in a sense, but looking back and reflecting on it now, I think it's the right call. I think Randy Savage is a fantastic example of what a hero should be, someone who used one particular mindset, persona to achieve fame, but once the Macho Man got there, how many countless visits to the Sick Children's Hospital, charity events. Since his passing, there have been so many stories to come out talking about how Randy Savage just constantly gave and gave and gave of himself. Didn't have any kids of his own, but did everything he could in order to be a hero to other kids, and he took it very seriously. Roddy Piper is another wrestler / actor who was there a bigger villain in the history of wrestling. But behind the scenes, I've heard so many stories of the selflessness, the love, the caring, always going above and beyond, trying to be a good example to children and to adults too. The expression "life is tough," that's been around forever, but I think all of us can agree, especially tough this year. There's people who have had a pretty easy ride throughout their life, and even they have been challenged this year. There's some people who haven't had to deal with much thanks to money, luxury, luck, and everybody is having to deal with a lot of stuff this year. No one escapes it. There's no exceptions. There's no free rides. So if everybody is having a tough, challenging time, and everybody could use some more energy to deal with it, some more patience, some more grace, some more inspiration, then why wouldn't everyone in a position to inspire people and help them use that platform to inspire and help people now more than ever? We're not talking about status and being cool. We're talking about people who are dealing with some really, really difficult things in their life on a daily basis. There's people who were never expected to wear a mask all day long and barely be able to breathe, and they're being asked to do that now, and they're not even in the medical industry. People in the service industry didn't sign up for that. They never imagined they would be required to do that, and they have to do that. And we call them heroes, and they are heroes. But a lot of them, they have to do it to pay their bills. So they're struggling with their own discomfort, inability to breathe, and they're doing it to make ends meet. And they need help. They need something to keep their spirits up. And what's not helping, I think, is after a long day of dealing with that type of stuff, struggling, trying so hard, trying your best, sitting down and watching someone who has a big platform. You pop on Netflix, or you pop on one of the other streaming services, or you put YouTube on, you put one of your favorite channels on, and you watch someone with a platform and a large audience bicker and whine and complain and take offense and throw stones or fight back and just behave in a way that does not recharge your batteries. It doesn't fill your spirit up. All it does is just make you more tired and frustrated. So for the people who go, "I never asked to be your hero," my thought is it doesn't matter what you ask for. Sometimes things are just thrust upon you. I guess it's a lot like the best leaders. The people who wanted to be leaders real bad, I think throughout history has proven they have not been good leaders. The ones who wanted to lead so bad, even from a young age, "I want to be a leader," they got into it for the wrong reasons. From what I've read and seen throughout history, the people who wanted to be the last person to lead seem to have been the best leaders. The reluctant leaders have always been the best leaders. And I think it's the reluctant heroes who have always been the most inspiring heroes as well. It's the people who got into something for another reason, and it just happened to be that way, worked out that way, and they took it serious. Guys like Sergeant Slaughter, when he was in the middle of doing G.I. Joe, at the height of his involvement with G.I. Joe in 86, 87, he's told stories of how he would go to a restaurant and a little kid would recognize him. And he wasn't in the fatigues. He wasn't wearing the drill sergeant hat and the whistle. but a kid would recognize him and point and smile. As soon as Sergeant Slaughter saw that, if there was wine on the table or a waiter was bringing wine, he said in interviews, like, he would say, I can't, even if it's just one kid, I can't be drinking alcohol, just to use an example. I mean, that works for drugs too, and other self-destructive things. But Sergeant Slaughter would refrain, because that's how important it was for him to be a hero. He didn't ask for that. He was one of the biggest villains ever in wrestling. It was thrust upon him, and I call Sarge a good hero, because when it was thrust upon him, he took it seriously, and he did the right thing. Same with Savage, Piper, in terms of wrestlers. You know, I can't name that many actors who seem to have taken it to heart like that, but there are certain, you know, especially voice actors. Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, Michael Bell, Dan Gilvezan, Larry Kenney, John Irwin. These guys played the biggest heroes in the cartoons that we grew up on and loved. And there was never any controversy with them. Even to this day, they don't go on their social media and pick lame digital fights. They don't screen capture mean comments and say, look what this person had the gall to say to me. They're above it. They, you know, and even though that was a job to them, and they did that job so long ago, they carry it. It's a piece of them. They put a piece of themselves in those characters. Michael Bell put a big piece of Michael Bell into Duke. And Duke still, I think, has a big piece inside Michael Bell. Same with Optimus Prime is Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen is Optimus Prime. Frank Welker may have not played some of the biggest heroes. Actually, he played some of the biggest villains. But he just seems like a guy who takes his position seriously and appreciates and respects it. And on a personal level, over the last couple of years, I've heard from quite a few people who say I inspired them to start their own channel. And I think that's awesome, to take your passion, your hobby, and want to share it with other people too. But I always warn, and I say, if you're going to watch what I do and do something similar, then please do something else similar, and don't lower yourself. Don't stoop when you get those nitpickers, those irritable people trying to pick a fight with you. That's an important part. If you want to send me a message and say, I really love what you do and I started my own channel thanks to your videos, then I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to, that's great, then do what I do. Don't quote the haters and screen capture it and post it on your Twitter or your Facebook or whatever. Don't fight with them. Don't call people names. Don't make fun of them. Don't use derogatory terms. Just don't say anything. That's the way that you fight those types of people. Don't let yourself get fooled into thinking it's an actual fight. Too many people allow themselves to be drawn into what's supposedly a fight. Typed words on the internet is not a fight. Typed words on the internet is poop. You know, it's crap. It's dung. It's dog dung. And when you respond to it, you're not fighting back. What you're doing is you're rolling in the ground in that poop, in that muck. You're getting it all over yourself. That's what you're doing, and you're not winning. You're not teaching them anything, and you're certainly not inspiring anybody. You're not helping the person who's coming home dead tired from 8 hours of standing wearing a mask that's dug into their face and so much over so many days that it's bruising them now, and you know, they can't seem to catch their breath because they've had to wear a mask all day long. You're not helping anybody, but you are helping people when you do get that poop and dung, caca, pardon my French Canadian, slung at you, you know, virtually on the internet, and you ignore it. There's nothing to it. There's no substance to it. And if you would just ignore it, if you would just walk on, let it go, and not acknowledge it, then you would teach yourself one of the most important lessons of your life. Repeatedly, over and over, you would constantly teach yourself and reinforce the lesson that there's no substance, there's no value to it, and there's no point in wasting your time. So that's my perspective. I don't consider myself a hero or anything like that, but I can't ignore all of the messages that I've gotten of people who appreciate what I've been doing on here and who have even inspired them to start their own channel. So I guess I'm an example of that. I never asked to be anyone's hero, but if anyone feels as though something that I do motivates them to try to do something positive and maybe help other people, I'm going to take that extremely seriously. And that's going to be on my mind the next time I'm in a position to roll around and crap and think that I'm winning something and teaching someone a lesson. I'm going to keep in mind the people watching and listening and the effect it has on them. That's what I've done for years, and that's what I'm going to continue to do because it works for me, but I think even more importantly, it seems to work for people who are watching, friends who are watching, family who are watching. And just to close off, going back to the movie Honey Boy, it's important for fathers to be heroes to their sons. And there are some fathers out there who never asked to be fathers. They never asked to be the hero of their son. But there is a really touching moment in that movie Honey Boy where he makes his peace with it and he says, I'm going to try my best. He acknowledges he's got some problems. He did 3 tours of Vietnam and didn't come back the same man. So there are people who just aren't in a position to be that rock that a child needs. But you have to try. You have to try your best. One of the other examples I wanted to use of who I think seems to be a good father and didn't necessarily look like he was going to end up being a good father is a wrestler by the name of Shawn Michaels. And wrestling fans know a lot about Shawn Michaels and how he was notorious for being a drug addict and a colossal pain in the tuchus to deal with. When he was forced to retire with a back injury, he got into the drugs hard, and he didn't quit them until one day when his son, his little boy, was trying to play with him, and he was just wiped out from the muscle relaxers and the other drugs he was using. And something sparked inside of him when he saw his wife praying for him, and he just had this moment of self-realization that he was being a horrible father to his son, and that's not his duty as a father. So ever since his spiritual reawakening, Shawn Michaels seems to have been a fantastic parent to his children. No real controversies. I mean, if you're in the wrestling business, there's going to be backstage spats and stuff, but all in all, night and day, total character change for that guy. And I think what motivated it was putting himself on the shelf, the old self, which by all accounts, his own even, was not a good dude, and he just put it aside and said, it's my kids that are important now. And I think that's how you deal if you're like Shia LaBeouf's father or any father, any parent dealing with difficult things, and you also have the duty of being a hero to your kid. What you do is you put yourself on the shelf, your issues on the shelf, and you focus on the other person. And that's how you deal with anything. The best way to deal with your own issues is to help other people. Service to others is how a lot of the most damaged, fractured, destroyed people throughout time have turned out to be very inspiring, inspirational people. They just stopped thinking about themselves and thinking about their own trauma, and they started thinking about the needs of those around them, especially their kids, their family, their close friends. So if you're lucky enough to ever have someone look up to you and either say that you're their hero or more realistically It wouldn't be with words, but it would be the look. You know, a person who depends on you for protection, for enlightenment, for knowledge. I would just hope that everyone takes that responsibility very, very seriously, and does the right thing. And that does involve things like cutting back on things that make you weaker, make it more difficult for you to cope with difficult situations. That would include drugs, alcohol, self-destructive things. It also means trying to be a little bit classier, because I strongly believe it makes a big difference, trying to be classier. Watching the language, trying to use better vocabulary. You know, that it has a big effect on children, and it might be the difference between a child who will never learn the difference between there and there, and a child who grows up to be an author who writes several novels that can entertain and maybe even teach people a thing or two. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that this maybe sparked some ideas, or for all of the great heroes out there, I hope that this serves as reassurance to you, because you are appreciated. You are doing an awesome job. You're doing your duty, and makes me feel good to know that there's so many people out there who take it seriously and are creating more heroes. So thanks for watching, and hope you all stay safe out there. Keep your spirits up. Get out of the house if you can, down to a conservation area, wetlands area. Just sit down and relax around some nature. Maybe a river or a lake nearby you. It's not always books or videos the way to get your inspiration and enlightenment. Sometimes it's just you need some peace and quiet. You need a little break away from people who like to make a lot of noise. Sometimes you just got to sit on a bench in front of a river and unplug, turn the phone off, and you might be surprised what answers come to you in that situation. So thanks for watching, listening, and much love to all of you out there. Namaste.